Okay, next up, let's have a peek at the steering wheel, see what this thing is all about. Starting off at the very bottom, we've got our adaptive cruise control. Now the vehicle is equipped with that Smart and Safe package, which is going to give us that adaptive cruise, and it is beautiful. Now, one thing about the adaptive cruise is that essentially it's a set it and forget it cruise control. So realistically, we're in a manual transmission, so you should really only be using this on the highway, but again, be very, very careful when you do. So with the adaptive cruise, we can turn the system on or off. We know it's on when this pops up on the screen, so the system is on. At the very top, so along the side here, this is going to let us determine how close or how far we are away from the vehicle that's in front of us. So with one lane, we're about half a step, so half a second roughly, and then it goes up about half a second roughly for every one we're above. Once we're at the speed that we'd like, we're just going to set either 1 or 2 here, and then we can either use that, so press either up to increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. When we're driving, we can press this in order to be able to cancel out the speed, or we can turn the system off completely by pressing that button one more time. Up at the top left, we've got a few buttons. These ones are going to let us change the station that we're currently tuned to. We can increase or decrease the volume using the rockers, or we can mute the system. So audio on or off. Along our right-hand side, so a couple things, this is going to be our voice button, so we can use this in order to change the radio station, navigate, or if we want to make phone calls. We can go up or down, that's going to, as you can see on the screen, it's going to allow us to control that screen, and we've got our back button that's going to let us work on the screen also. We've also got our OK button. OK button does a couple things, as you can see on the screen. Let's actually zoom in here a teeny little bit, actually focus in, I should say. We're going to press and hold that OK button in order to reset the trip counter. But if we ever get a message on that center cluster screen, we can press this OK button in order to get rid of it. Moving down a tiny little bit, starting off, we've got our navigation button. So as of right now, we don't have navigation currently going, but we can navigate either home to previous destinations. So that is an address that we've previously found, so we can control that, and it's going to calculate it for us.
Please proceed to the highlighted route, and then the route guidance will start.
And as you can see, it has started that map for us. So that's one of the nice things about this digital dash, is that it does give us the ability to be able to set up the navigation directly through this center cluster screen instead. Press that button in order to be able to get rid of it. From here, we've got the ability to either answer or hang up on a phone call, and we've also got our settings button. So we've got some general settings that we can look at. So our trip and fuel info, which is going to be the screen that we're looking at as a default. We've got fuel economy, tire pressure, and then a blank screen. Back to our settings, driver assist, we've got a ton of options. The auto engine off, so that's the one that's going to kill power to the engine when you're stopped at a light. If you don't like that, we can turn it off using this screen. We've also got the blind spot system. Blind spot system just along our sides, we've got that little guy. So that's going to highlight orange when somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. So I do recommend keeping that one on. Pre-collision assist is a safety setting. If for whatever reason the vehicle recognizes that there's a potential collision, it's going to actively brake for you. So I do recommend keeping it on. As I mentioned, it's a safety thing. If you're tracking the vehicle, obviously make sure you turn this thing off. Crash traffic alert, if a vehicle is coming perpendicular to you, so either from your left or your right-hand side, whether you see the thing or not, it's automatically going to let you know that there's a potential collision. So I do recommend keeping that one on. Again, turn it off if you're tracking the car. Cruise control as a default is going to be our adaptive cruise. If you have a preference to use that normal cruise control, you can, but guys, trust me, once you use the adaptive cruise, you're never going to want to go back to using regular cruise control again. Driver alert is very straightforward. It's tied into our lane keeping system. If you get too many notifications about leaving your lane or getting too many lane departure warnings, it's going to let you know that you should take a rest. Hill start assist, it's essentially going to lock the vehicle in place, giving you a little bit of an easier time in order to be able to get up hills. Rear parking aid is going to be that beeping that we get as we get closer to an obstacle. And we've got our lane keeping system, so it works a couple different ways. So an alert is going to be a steering wheel shake. Best way for me to describe the feeling, imagine if you're going over that rumble pavement on the highway, that's the way it's going to feel. Our aid is going to recenter you and pull you back into your lane, and then the alert and the aid will do both. So it's going to shake the steering wheel and recenter you and pull you away from that lane that you're veering into without signaling. And the intensity is going to be in the intensity of that steering wheel shake, high, medium, or low. Wipers, we've got a courtesy wipe, so when the vehicle first turns on, it's going to wipe once for you. I don't recommend turning that one on, especially if you're driving this thing in the wintertime. If there's ice on the windshield, you're going to end up messing with the motors and the windshield wipers. Just don't do it. Rain sensing wipers, I do recommend keeping that one turned on though, and the reason why is because the vehicle's automatically going to determine how fast or slow the windshield wipers should be going. Now, along the right stick, we can select how fast it goes ourselves also. We've got the ability to select how fast it goes as well from using this knob. So again, really a matter of personal preference there. We've got our speedometer, so as a default, strictly in kilometers, or we can show the miles per hour also. Moving into our advanced settings, so we've got some basic vehicle settings. So our alarm, do we want the alarm? Yes, ask on exit. Easy entry exit has got to do with the seats themselves. So with easy entry exit on, what's going to happen is when you get out of the vehicle, when you open up that door to get out, what it's going to do is it's going to pull the seat back for you, and it's going to, so essentially makes it easier for you to get in and out of the vehicle. Intelligent access has to do with the key fob, lighting, auto lamp delay, when the vehicle's locked, how long do the lamps stay on for, 10, 20, or 120 seconds. Auto high beam, which is automatically, we can control the high beams by using that left stick, but auto high beams automatically going to turn the high beams on or off and dim it for you, just depending on how bright it is outside. So if it's dark outside, if the vehicle senses an oncoming vehicle, it's going to automatically dim the lights for you before flipping them off completely. Locks, what happens with our locks? Auto unlock when it recognizes the fob, mislock, etc. Remote unlock, do all doors get unlocked, or is it just the driver door that gets unlocked? Switch inhibitor has to do with the fob itself. If the vehicle's on, you're not in the vehicle, it essentially makes it so that people can't just get in and drive away. Oil life reset, we are at 100% right now. When you get an oil change done, just press and hold OK, and it's going to automatically reset that for you. Tire mobility kit, as I mentioned, that goop is good for 4 years, so you want to make sure that you have it set for 4 years because you will get a reminder that it needs to be replaced. And our windows remote open, do we want to have that option, yes or no? Let's take a peek outside and see how the remote window opening works on the key fob. Okay, we've also got the ability to use the key fob in order to roll down the windows. So on the fob itself, all we're going to do is press this unlock button 3 times. On the third press, we're just going to hold it. So 1, 2, 3, and hold. There you go, you've got your windows down and you're set to go. Now, one thing to note is that it is only power down from the key fob here. You do have to manually roll them back up again. That's going to be our basic vehicle settings, and we've got MyKey now. MyKey gives you the ability to set up certain limitations using your key fob. That could be something as simple as make sure that the vehicle can't go past a certain speed. So again, if you're going to be either lending the vehicle out to a friend, to a spouse, you want to play a prank on someone, you would go there in order to create a key to be able to do that. Display setup is going to be what the display looks like. So as of right now, we've got either the gear, the RPM, or none for the tachometer. Measurement units, do we want to measure in liters per 100, kilometers per liter, or miles in gallons? Temperature, do we want to show in Celsius or Fahrenheit? Tire pressure, how is that measured? As well as our language. And that's going to be the basics of our settings. So jumping back, that's also going to be the way that this cluster screen is going to look now. Now, along the very bottom, we've got 2 more buttons. First one is going to be your audio, so we can change between AM, FM, Sirius, XM. Press it again in order to get rid of that. And lastly, we've also got our pony button. Now, this is when we get into a ton of options for customization for this bad boy. So looking at the basics, so my mode, that's going to show you, so current status there, jumping back in. My mode, we can add different modules in there as well. Looking at our exhaust, so the vehicle is equipped with that active valve performance exhaust. We've got 4 different modes, so our quiet, normal, sport, and our track. Let's jump outside the vehicle in order to listen to what that's like. Okay, we've got some ability for track apps as well, so acceleration timer, brake performance, line locks, etc. Make sure that you do have that Forward Pass Connect app downloaded on your phone for those track apps to show. Performance shift indicator is going to let us know the ideal shift point. We can adjust the shift point. We can get a tone when we should shift, or there's going to be a light mode there as well. So when we should shift, it's going to let us know what's happening. Actually, let's turn that one on for just for the test drive that we're going to do here, just so you can listen to what that's going to sound like. Launch control, really, really nice for really kind of taking off on the vehicle. Rev match is when we're shifting in the vehicle, we're going to hear the RPMs rev up. So the vehicle is going to rev up essentially to match the previous gear that we were in. When it comes to our gauges, so we've got some different options for the gauges, as you can see there. So we've got our brakes, we've got our basic settings there as well. So again, really a matter of preference. Along our side, we do have our oil pressure gauge and our vac gauge. Some of that info is going to be shown, but again, really a matter of preference what ends up showing up there. Pressing that pony going again, we can change the color. So primary color, we've got some options. We can create a unique color as well. Really, it is a matter of personal preference what that looks like. Ambient light color is going to be the light that's inside of the vehicle, so in the cup holders and along a few other areas as well. Whether or not that happens is a matter of choice. You can turn it off, and you can also select the color and the ambient color lighting. You can also create a color down there if you'd like. Last one is going to be our cluster appearance. What's that going to look like? Do we want it to change with our drive mode? So as we select whether it's what the mode is, we can have it automatically update that for us. But if you have a preference of what it looks like, so a lot of people I know love the look of the sport mode. So if we actually jump back out to what that looks like, as you can see here, it's completely tweaked the look of it. So it really is a matter of personal preference what this thing looks like. Play around with this pony setting in order to find the best ones for you. Now, a couple other things to point out. We've already pointed out our right-hand stick. On our left side, we've got the ability to turn those high beams on or off. And along the very side, along the tip, as you can see, we've also got this button, which is going to turn the lane keeping system on or off. We know it's on or off when these little bowling alleys, those safety bowling things, show up. So we know that the lane keeping system is now turned on. So what that's going to do, it's going to recenter us and pull us back into our lane because that system's turned on.